Well, here it is, pre-sunrise, South Florida. The sun's getting ready to rise for the beginning of this Friday, and it's looking like it's going to be amazing. Never know when you get here before the sunrise whether or not the clouds on the horizon are going to cover it up, or the sun rises right over the sea that goes all the way to the horizon. So each and every day it's a different painting. Each and every day it's a new experience. I have no idea how it's going to work out today, but it looks like the clouds aren't going to block it. It's going to be quite amazing coming soon. And as I sit here at the halfway point on the morning walk, I begin to appreciate, yes, the beauty in front of me, but also I start to run through a list of the things that I'm appreciative of in my life. So I'm going to do that silently. I'm going to encourage you possibly to do the same. In my situation right here, right now, my life as it is now, what am I thankful for? What am I grateful for? Who are the people that I'm grateful for? What are the things that I'm grateful for? The circumstances that I'm grateful for? The opportunity that lies ahead that I'm grateful for? The things that I take for granted on a regular basis, like mental health, physical health, emotional health, spiritual, knowing. Things that Mark, see a shark? Not yet. So the things that we sometimes take for granted, the ability to breathe, the ability to see, the ability to hear, the ability to walk, the ability to talk, the ability to think clearly, to recall memories clearly, to create memories. The things that we take for granted. So part of the morning routine is to mentally go through gratitude. My early mentor, Zig Ziglar, called it the attitude of gratitude. When we focus on the things we're grateful for, well, it puts a smile on my face, makes us think about things that help us rise our energy, frequency, and vibration. So what are you thankful for? What are you grateful for? Down to the minuscule, seemingly not monumental, yet vitally important to lead the life that you currently live. What are you grateful for? One thing I didn't do prior to turning this on was to check and see when the actual sunrise is. So I can't change the screen right now that I'm going, so I might be holding it longer than I thought. I got here a little bit earlier than normal, yet it was too pretty to not capture. So I turned it on, and here we go. So I have no idea how many minutes before the sun actually rises. That said, I'm going to go through in my mind and recognize the things that I'm grateful for. The friendships. Michael Neal, grateful for our friendship. Wendy, been a long time, hope all is well. Mark, good to see you here. George, good to see you here. Karen, good to see you here. Grateful for this tool in this day and age of technology, right? Where back in the day, growing up, you would take pictures and would have to share the pictures with friends and family, that are sitting next to you, more in a one-on-one situation. Today, we have this capability where just a few short years ago, cost tens of thousands of dollars. And I remember because we did it back in 2011, 2012, to live stream so people around the world could see what you're seeing face in front of you. You know, a one-to-many presentation just a few years ago cost tens of thousands of dollars to be able to have the proper hardware and software and bandwidth to do. This day and age, we have our cell phone, we have these technologies that come with pros and cons. Let's not be silly to overlook the agreements that we've accepted, the terms that we've accepted, the devices from the phone to the applications we use isn't used just by you, I, and the company. There are thousands of eyeballs and ears watching and listening and monitoring what's being said. So the simple convenience of these tools allows us to overlook, in many cases not even pay attention to the downside, to the peeking into, the stepping over liberties and freedoms that so many generations before us fought to protect. I made an oath back in January 1993 to protect and defend the Constitution against enemies foreign and domestic with my life. And guess what? There's been enemies domestic, there's been enemies foreign, but right now, even these tools we're looking at right now to see this beauty, the phone service, the application that we're using right now, and it's not just this application, it's every application. No matter what application you're using, the terms you agreed to, and along with a couple unconstitutional things that were passed back in 2001, namely the Patriot Act and NDAA, allowing the U.S. government to force companies to turn over their data or else face severe consequences, and not able to tell the public what they are turning over. So all cell phone providers played by Uncle Sam's demands, all Silicon Valley companies play by Uncle Sam's demands, and that's part of the game. So as someone who made the oath to protect and defend the Constitution against enemies, foreign and domestic, those are two unconstitutional acts that have been passed with applause back in 2001 and that are still in effect today. So as a constitutionalist, interesting to say the least. As information unfolded, where Edward Snowden, for instance, shared, and the media shared what information was being disclosed and how our privacy was being violated at levels we never would have imagined, there was no public outcry for change. There was no demand for change. And here we are, 2001 to 2019, 18 years later, and guess what? It's not the beginning stages, it's been entrenched at such deep levels, it would stymie the minds of those who even know. Like right now, hello, everyone listening to our conversation that's not on my friends list, that's not, here watching, that is part of the global entrenched spy network that watches and sees and hears everything. And the companies that allow it to occur can't tell the public via the unconstitutional platforms of the Patriot Act and NDAA. They can't even share what's being shared with these agencies. So I say all this because it started with gratitude. I'm grateful that we have these platforms. However, as you can just hear, as a constitutionalist, it is one of my desires to spread the word, to open people's eyes that there are unconstitutional things that have been passed by law, which nullifies them automatically if it violates the Constitution. However, that will be addressed when it's addressed. And once again, those two that are unconstitutional are the Patriot Act and NDAA. The Patriot Act and NDAA cross the constitutional boundaries of freedom, and I demand they be removed to not violate the Constitution, which this country is founded on. And I took an oath, every soldier took an oath, every elected official takes an oath to protect and defend the Constitution. Therefore, I am confused as to how we are allowing this and have allowed it to be entrenched for 18 years at a level that even those who know would be shocked. So I'll wave because I'm not even using my face camera, but the government, the companies have access to your cell phone device, your audio, your video. And I remember as a kid hearing people fearful about pretty soon the government will put trackers on us where they can track us where we go. Well, guess what? They didn't even need to forcefully do that. We did it willingly and purchase it at a very high cost with these smartphones that they know exactly where we are at all times, every single step, every single activity that we do. And they do have access to all audio, all video at any time they desire. And on top of that, now we've even moved into where not just the phone that goes with us everywhere to track us where we are, to listen to what we're saying, to see what we're seeing, but we've also invited things like Alexa, things like Google Home, things like the Facebook, similar units that are now in our homes, also listening, and with the new updates, watching. Because the original Alexas, the original Googles, and Michael, although I have nothing to hide, that sucks. And that's actually a great point, because a lot of people say, well, I have nothing to hide. Well, let's see here. There's a movie from a long time ago. What the heck? The Running Man. And The Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger had a scene in the beginning where Arnold Schwarzenegger was the good guy who was demanded as the helicopter pilot to go attack the citizens. And the real activities of that showed him turning down that, saying he's not going to do it, and then him being overthrown and basically the people there taking over and going to fire on those innocent people. And then they blamed him as a rogue. They basically took the recordings and twisted it to make it look as if he was the bad guy who went rogue and killed those people, and basically twisted reality. So the fun part is everything is being recorded. And the sad part is none of this, because it's at such a mass level, can proactively prevent catastrophes from occurring. But in retrospect, they can then go find the perpetrators. They can then go find all that data that's been collected after the fact. And basically, it becomes everything. It's kind of like, the rights that are read to you, the Miranda rights. Everything can and will be used against you. Everything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. So everything that we do, we think, say, do, is monitored, tracked, and it's amazing how cases can be made to prove a point that, well, I guess, and here's the funny part, Michael, I know this to be true because you've experienced this and I've experienced this. When someone is accused of something that they have, like, it's a shock that they're even accused. Like, what? Like, A, I wasn't even there. B, I have no idea what you're talking about, but you're accused. One of the hardest things to do is prove something that you didn't do. So anything that you, I, or anyone has said since 2000, the mid 2000s, that's been recorded and harvested can be gone back and twisted and turned and cut together. And I guess this also goes to people who have been interviewed, and people that are rookies at being interviewed are excited to get interviewed, but then if they don't have a clear understanding of the purpose of the interview and how that interview is going to be used in the editing. Basically, all interviews depend on the editing. A super clean, amazing interview could be turned into a ridiculous scene similar to the one in that movie, The Running Man, right? And they've done it with spoofs, like where someone's talking and there was a real interview, and then they cut out the real interviewer's questions and add in ridiculous questions that then are answered with ridiculous answers. All right, so anyhow, it's funny. Hard to prove negative, yes, you got it. But anyhow, I digress. Look at this amazing beauty coming up. The sun, here it is, coming up over the horizon. And, as you can hear, like, I'm stating all this factually because it's just fact. Like, this is not conspiracy theory. This is real stuff that's in motion, has been in motion since 2001. And like I said, as a constitutionalist, I am not a Republican. I am not a Democrat. I am a constitutionalist. I guess someone who would reflect the beliefs of a constitutionalist who had large followings years and years ago, but was kind of suppressed because that doesn't lead to the agenda of the government at the time, is Ron Paul, right? And Ron Paul is a constitutionalist, and as Ron Paul talked about, and as I agree, stick to what the Constitution outlines as what the government's role is. And obviously the government has stepped well beyond that role and stepped into with two very clear unconstitutional things that are in motion right now, the Patriot Act and NDAA, into violating our Bill of Rights, into violating the Constitution. And, I'm just making that aware to people, and I don't lose sleep over it. I just understand it is what it is, and I have knowledge of it and want to open other people's eyes to it, to demand change. Just like when I was excited to see the information that was shared by Edward Snowden released to the public, I was expecting public outrage, and there was none. As a matter of fact, it's gotten deeper. And as a matter of fact, it was even disclosed in the movie Edward Snowden, which movies obviously have twists and agendas behind them as well. It's not a 100% factual documentary, but it is true that part of Obama's campaign was to stop the government spying. And not only did that not occur during those 8 years, it got more deeply entrenched. And now this isn't pointing the finger at Obama, because remember, back in 2001 when all this stuff began, it was Bush that was in office. So like I said, I'm not Republican or Democrat, I'm a constitutionalist. And both parties have violated the Constitution. And I'm opening people's eyes to get back to the topic at hand, which is going back to the Constitution and removing anything that is unconstitutional, to include unregulated, all accessible spying on every U.S. citizen that's occurring right here, right now, and has been since early 2000s. But here we are. That all came about by being thankful and grateful for the platform, thankful and grateful for this technology that we have, which just a few years ago, 2011, 2012, cost tens of thousands of dollars to have the proper hardware, software, and bandwidth to make this happen. This is all happening, quote unquote, free. I'm using a device that, this handheld phone was, an $1,100 investment. Facebook was a free application that I had to agree to the terms and services to use, which come with pros of being able to use it and the cons of opening up all of my activities, posts, and audio, video, etc. to not only Facebook, but what's behind the veil of Facebook, also the three-lettered agencies of the U.S. government, etc. And those are the pros and cons of the conveniences that we have today, many which are free, yet come with strings attached, come with freedoms that most people aren't aware you're giving away when you agree to said terms of service. Wow. I was caught at a loss of words because here comes the sun. Look at that. It's amazing. Amazing. So I'm going to take that in. So, as I mentioned, I'm saying this calmly, matter-of-factly, because it's just truth. It is what it is. That said, I learned a long time ago from a book called How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale Carnegie. Dale Carnegie in that book says, look, you need to understand in life, in order to start living and stop worrying, that there are two types of things that are in motion, two things that are happening, and they fall into one of these two categories. Things that you can control or things you can't control. Now, for a long time, I would get all riled up and bent out of shape over things that I can't control. Like, here we are, the sun's rising. I can't control the sun. I can't tell it to slow down. I can't tell it to hurry up. I can't tell it to get out from behind the clouds or go hide behind some clouds. It's going to do what it's going to do. And similarly, the conversation that we just had about the two unconstitutional things in motion in the United States, the Patriot Act and NDAA, and all of the rights that have been taken away from us by those being in place, and how those have entrenched the U.S. government into being the largest Big Brother spy situation that's ever existed in humanity. There's certain things I can control, there's certain things I can't control. What I can control is mentioning it and opening up the eyes to some people who aren't aware of it, which it's amazing that it's a secret still, but that's pretty much it. And then the next step is, once there's enough people who are in the aware state, to demand change. By definition, anything that's unconstitutional is not legal. Knowing that, the Patriot Act, NDAA, and all that has allowed the government to force companies to get into all of their data and access everything that these companies have. We're talking the billion-dollar companies, the phone companies, Apple, Google, everybody, Facebook, everybody. Their big brother forces them to, look, you either follow our rules or you go out of business. And there's one company who didn't play by those rules and actually closed their multi-million-dollar company down because they were not going to open up their data to the government. And part of it, like I said, is part of the Patriot Act is that when you do this, you have no choice, and also you have legal, your lips are sealed. You can't state that you're sharing your data and or what data is being shared with the government legally. Unconstitutionally, which makes it illegal, which is the rub. Isn't it fun? So, there are things we can control, there are things we cannot control. I can control opening up my mouth still to this day. In the near future, if people choose to not open their mouth, the freedom of speech that we so boldly proclaim will also be taken away. And if you haven't noticed, there are actual people at keyboards that are paid by organizations to be trolls, to be haters. So when people open their mouth, they are attacked ruthlessly, which causes people to be leery and weary of opening their mouth, which infringes upon their freedom of speech, which is interesting as well. So freedom of speech is there technically, yet comes with large strings and consequences attached when speaking about certain topics. Once again, just a fact. Look at the amazing sunrise. So I've been looking at the sunrise. I can't really see the screen here. Let me what the heck is going on? When you look at the sun, you can't really see stuff. So I see some things that are being said there, but I can't quite read it. Isn't that amazing? All right. But here we go. Back to gratitude. Back to controlling what we can control and understanding what we can't control. And having the peace that comes with it. See, as a constitutionalist, I see those things as being unconstitutional. I see them by virtue of being unconstitutional, not being legal, yet they are unconstitutionally legal and in place, in motion, at the demise of the freedoms that generations previous to us, going back to 1776, fought and died for, and everyone just stands by and uses the free conveniences while giving up those freedoms, which is interesting, yet I don't lose sleep over it. I'm just seeking to open up some eyes and get enough people to say enough is enough. This is ridiculous. We stop this now or this beast will be uncontrollable, which it's at that point of good luck on getting people to turn in their cell phones. Good luck on getting people to turn in their Alexas, their Google Homes, those conveniences which are Big Brother, labeled with companies that are friendly, labeled by company names that people like. Apple, Google, Facebook. They're our friends. You can welcome the friends into your home. No worries. Don't worry. We're not listening except to everything. We're not watching except to everything. Your phones, your computers, and yeah, it's been said, but oh, come on, that's just crazy. I'm not doing anything bad. Doesn't matter. Nothing to hide. Maybe the case, but I'd encourage you to go watch that Edward Snowden movie from that objective perspective of like, yeah, even if you're not doing something bad, that's a violation that's not cool and needs people to rise up and stop and demand it to stop. And there we have it. The morning is upon us. I am grateful for my friends. I am grateful for the health that I have, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Grateful for the ability to breathe. Grateful for the ability to speak. Grateful for the ability to walk. And for those who know my story, and even those who may not, there was a time after my car wreck a short while ago, short being relative, September 11th, 1998, where I had severe head trauma and some nerve damage in my leg where I was unable to speak, I was unable to walk. And at 25 years old, had to relearn that to a degree. Now, I didn't have to, go back and learn the alphabet and things like that. What I had was aphasia from the severe head trauma. So with time, generally aphasia passes and the brain connects the dots. Basically what happened with aphasia was I would think, ooh, wow, look, that's a beautiful sun. And I would say random unrelated words, cat, brown, 6'4", just nonsense. And my brain would immediately say, wait a second, that's not what I was trying to say. And I would try to say something else, and once again, random words. So with aphasia, generally, after the brain trauma, the severe head trauma diminishes, your brain's able to connect the dots. So it wasn't relearning it, starting back at preschool and kindergarten type of stage. It was aphasia, where I would think things and my brain would not allow or connect the dots for my mouth to word the thoughts properly. It was random nonsense. And with the walking, I had what's called drop foot. And I tried to, when I got done with intensive care and the respirator was done breathing for me, I was like, oh, let me get out of bed and go to the bathroom. And immediately when I threw my legs over to the side and went to stand up, I fell to the ground. So once again, with the nerve damage, my brain was like, oh, cool, I want to walk over there. And I put my legs over the bed, and when I went to stand up, just collapsed to the ground. And that also was like, oh, what the heck is going on here? Like, that's not normal. And they were telling me I may never walk or talk properly. I would just shake my head no. And eventually, the aphasia passed, and eventually was able to think things and say the things that I was thinking. And eventually was able to say, I want to walk over there, and have my legs participate in that activity to get me to walk over there. For a short while afterwards, roughly a year and a half, 2 years, I had the drop foot where my right leg dragged when I walked. And obviously, you may have seen someone with that. A very common question is, what happened? And I got sick of telling that story. So I would talk with my leg. I would slap it and massage it. And hey, look, I apologize for putting you what I put you through, but you're still attached. So do whatever you got to do to fix yourself. So I don't have to have the leg dragging, and I don't have to be asked what happened, and I don't have to tell the story 50 times a day. And so I talked to my leg. I would slap it. Now I learned that's kind of I forgot what the heck that is. Basically just to re-energize, like slapping it, is a way to re-energize your cells and whatnot. And I would talk to it and massage it, and lo and behold, and also try to focus on keeping my foot from dragging and twisting sideways. And so my foot doesn't drag anymore. My sister, who's a physical therapist, when I walk or run, she can see my right foot push out to the side a little bit more than normal, but it's not picked up by the normal eye. That said, I'm thankful to be able to breathe. I'm thankful to be able to speak. I'm thankful that my brain can think things that my mouth is able to utter, and people understand it. I'm thankful for the ability to walk. I'm thankful for so many things that prior to that circumstance, that experience, I would have taken for granted. And even to this day, I take a lot of things for granted. I'm thankful for the amazing friends. I'm thankful for my amazing fiance, Wanda. I'm thankful for our amazing kids. I'm thankful for my amazing friends. I'm thankful for these tools and technologies, which I was hating on earlier, not because of the tools and technologies, but because of the terms of service that we forego many freedoms by using these quote-unquote conveniences. but that's the pro versus the con. I'm thankful for this day and age. I feel this is the absolute best time to be alive. I'm thankful for the opportunities that lie ahead for myself, for my loved ones, for my friends, due to being alive in this day and age. And I'm thankful for so many other things. So that's some of the routine. You captured it right here with this sunrise. I hope this was helpful. I enjoyed this conversation. I hope you did as well. Make today great. It's off to have an awesome day. Chat with you soon. Bye for now.